Hello, hello. I'm Marcus. I live in Berlin and I'm training at the Psychoanalytic University in the city here in Germany. The reason I want to share my thoughts on such an important question is grounded in my own life experiences. I've had numerous experiences of trauma requiring years of therapy. This was a gift, something that truly changed my life. And I want to share this perspective with you. I hope you enjoy this video where together we will look at a very important question. What is a good life? Given that you're here looking for an answer, let me help you reflect on that. It will help to use a very specific moment in your day. And that moment is when you are about to leave your home. I want you to take a moment to pause and imagine that you are at your front door. You're grabbing your keys, checking you've got your phone and opening the door. Just capture that moment. Pause, see it in your mind and keep hold of those thoughts. We'll come back to this moment a little later on in the video. In this moment at the front door, I think there are the signals to whether you are leading a good life or not. So let's take a few moments to look at actually what a good life feels like. Not as an abstract aspiration, but as something that you can understand concretely. I also hope for you that it points to a way of thinking that encourages you to make a change or to feel more confident that you are on the right track already. Now, my guess is that you have, the same as me, heard lots of advice about emotional intelligence, journaling, yoga, or meditation as a means to a good life. I think these tools work, and for some people, some tools work more than others. Yet doing these things didn't change how I moved through my day. They really didn't work directly on my subconscious, so I didn't actually change. It was a bit like a sticking plaster over the problem. Years ago, things could easily unsettle me. It might be a bored shopkeeper, and I wondered, why is the shopkeeper scowling at me? Or someone pushing ahead in a queue at the coffee shop, and that would annoy me. Or perhaps a colleague said something ambiguous in a meeting and I felt like I'd been thrown under the bus. In these situations, I noticed things that should not matter, but somehow did, and it was disheartening. Other people would point out to me, you ought to have some perspective. And yet moments like these can sit with you for hours, colouring everything that comes afterwards. The frustration isn't just about those moments themselves, it's about the fact that you can't seem to let these moments go. And you don't understand why. You want to get rid of them, but these moments, they hang around for far longer than they should or deserve. So there's a gap between how you want to feel and how you actually feel. The fact that you notice this gap is significant. It's a start. There are three things I want to share with you about this gap in your life. The gap between how you want to feel and how you actually feel. The first one is do the front door test. The second one is check. Are you using a lot of empty calorie emotions? And the third one is, do you have emotional indigestion? At the end of the video, there's a question you can ask yourself, nudging you to reflect whether you are leading the good life that you deserve. So let's start with the front door test, the first one. A good life at its most basic is being able to open your front door without a head full of stress and thoughts reaching out into the day ahead. You collected this moment earlier, and whilst you've listened to this video, your subconscious has been processing that thought without you noticing. If you are content, the front door moment is a moment when you just open the door and you aren't thinking about anything except this mundane moment itself. This moment is quietly confident that you are in control, and whatever comes, be it pleasant or difficult, you know your role in how this unfolds. If you are not comfortable in your role as you move through the day, your mind is busy looking around the next 3 corners instead of just leaving the house. And we'll come back to this again later, because I want to explain later on what you can do about it. However, for now, let's move on to another way of checking how your life is going. Check whether you're using a lot of empty calorie emotions. When you leave the house with a basket of concerns, worries, or an excess of joyful positivity, things that happen to you will fill the gap between where your head's at and where reality lives. And what fills this gap, more often than not, is what I call empty calorie emotions. Anger, excessive optimism, performative happiness. These are emotions that feel like fuel, but don't actually nourish you. They get you through the next hour the way a sugar hit gets you through early afternoon, briefly and at a cost of not actually engaging with yourself. Instead, you are externalizing your feelings onto the world. Processing what's happening to you doesn't properly occur. You reinforce your role as a passive observer. Anger is a common empty calorie emotion. Something small happens, someone cuts ahead of you in a queue, a stranger is rude, a plan falls apart with a friend, and it lands with disproportionate force. The event is likely a small-scale irritant, but something hijacked you and took up far too much of your headspace. Such experiences don't get compartmentalized and integrated. So at the end of the day, it intrudes into your evening. You haven't processed it, and it feels as though the anger you felt is outside waiting for you tomorrow. And this is what an empty calorie emotional existence looks like. You didn't deal with the anger and communicate that. You hit the override button using your own reflexes built on your own past. You greeted your anger quickly, reflex overriding your anger with excessive optimism or avoidance, niceness or just neutrality to avoid feeling anything, adapting and distracting. But your anger never evolved in its own right into a more complex pattern of feeling. Anger that evolves given a few seconds can emerge as irritation, disappointment, revulsion, contempt, or dismay. Empty calorie emotions lack fiber and make the world out there look far worse than it actually is, because you have no way of digesting what the world offers, good or bad. The empty calories pass through you without reflection. Using such emotions feasts on positive exchanges, or simply means accepting the negative moments, because you have poor internal metabolism for processing your experience. Okay, let's look at the last checkpoint. Do you have emotional indigestion? The difference between a good day and a bad one is rarely about what happened. It's about working with what life gave you, whilst keeping a sense of yourself as you encounter other people. I avoid emotional indigestion where the crappy feelings keep repeating on me by speaking my mind authentically, even at the risk of small conflicts. My friends and colleagues know me for being someone who speaks authentically, and they trust me more because of it. They know where they stand with me. Let's just check. When you are challenged by others, do you roll over or do you call out what makes you uncomfortable? Do you check what others meant and find out their reality, which is typically different to what you think? It means you can meet the world's challenges directly, absorb the impact, and keep moving without losing the thread of who you are and what you're doing out there. And when you step outside with a clear sense of what you are about, you do not need to orientate yourself around the shopkeeper's look, because that look just becomes a look. Or you ask the shopkeeper politely, "Are you okay?" The queue jumper in the queue for a coffee becomes just an irritation, not injustice. And if it really bugs you, you point out that you were there first. And the awkward exchange with your work colleague, that becomes a shoulder shrug. Or you check with them, "What were you saying there?" These actions stop these moments from becoming a verdict on your day. When you investigate with curiosity, you nearly always find that the issue is down to factors that are not about you. You notice difficulty without being consumed by it, and you come home at the end of the day with sufficient energy intact. The opposite is what happens when you cannot digest the day's events and you get indigestion, feeling that the world is against you, feeling it's all miserable out there. That's a signal that you need to investigate, because yes, the world is challenging, but you need to leave your front door knowing you will meet the world in all of its odd, strange, lovely, and annoying ways. And these days, rapidly digesting events needs to be stronger than ever. So what can you do with this? I ask you tonight before bed to pause and think. Did anything happen today that still has a hold on me? If yes, that's your marker. If it was someone jumping the queue, looking at you the wrong way and not smiling at you, or you just did not feel seen by the world out there, that's where the opportunity is. You need to dig into this opportunity. This is where you will find a deeper sense of yourself. Learn how to use more fibrous emotions to digest your life. Look for nuanced feelings like irritation, contentment, fulfillment, pride. I found the How We Feel app very helpful for this and used it to improve my emotional digestion. I'll add a link to that in the description, and it's completely free of charge. These emotions are richer, more complex interpretations of yourself. Others will be able to work with those better than anger or performed joy. When you pause to find the nuance in your feelings, your empty calorie emotions like anger or sugary joy are set aside in favor of more reflective thoughts. A good life is not a destination, a salary, a relationship, or a set of achievements. A good life is opening your front door every day and stepping out as a full participant in your own day, confident that you will make something good of it, no matter what comes along. Should you feel that you are not having a good day and it keeps happening, I would ask you to please not use AI. This is a device that will mirror your empty calorie emotions. Whilst it gives you relief, it will slow your progress. Sometimes I also use it. But I have learned over the years that subconscious work requires a sense of presence. You have to feel that your worries and concerns are there with another person who does not react sometimes, who sits and waits for your moment of distress to evolve. A machine cannot offer that sense of timing, love, and presence that you need in order to mend and trust yourself. If you want to work on yourself, do it with a human. and use AI to fill the gaps. I think you get the point. If you repeatedly do not have a good day, I ask you to talk to a qualified person to help you. I've used BetterHelp and found a practice here in Berlin where I live. Both have been extremely helpful to giving me the gift of a good life. Every day is good enough these days, and I would like that for you as well. If you have questions or you're struggling to decode whether you need CBT, psychodrama, group therapy, or psychoanalysis, in the first instance, I can offer you online help anywhere in the world or in-presence psychodynamic coaching here in Berlin. I work in German and English, and I'm training at the Psychodynamic University here. Together we can find a path that will work for you, whether that's with me or with the help of someone near you. We can navigate the structures and services available in the psychology space for you to shape what works best for you. Contact me via LinkedIn if you're interested. Okay, that was a nice video for me to make. I've enjoyed it. And I hope you enjoyed it too and found it useful. Take care, and I hope you have a good day. Bye-bye.